Hey guys, thanks for joining me today. I wanted to take an opportunity to discuss gels with you real quick. We've been doing a lot with lighting over the past few semesters, and oftentimes we sort of gloss over the fact that we're using certain types of gel, either correction gel, color effects gel, or predominantly diffusion gel, to sweeten up some of our lighting setups. So I wanted to take an opportunity to just talk about and show you what's available, so that it'll give you an idea of what you need to seek out in terms of an expendable that you can use for some of your lighting setups for school, and also in your professional career as you start getting out into the field and you start doing lighting for a living. Okay. One of the things about professional diffusion that's different from just going to the art supply store, for instance, and buying some tracing paper, is the fact that all of these gels are actually, believe it or not, calibrated in increments of either quarter or half stops in terms of exposure value correction, or they may be calibrated simply in full, half, quarter, and eighth tones of color saturation, so that you have a reliable set of benchmarks when you make a change on a piece of gel, for instance, from one density or hue of orange to another. You're going to know by, for instance, the catalog number on the piece of gel, you're going to know how far you have gone from your original choice or your original selection. Now, you can see obviously that some of these gels are quite a bit different when you look at their densities, particularly against a white backdrop. But every one of these has a catalog number on it from the manufacturer, and it'll give you some idea of what that gel is. Okay, what we're doing here, these are called cuts boxes. And what the folks here at the Full Sail Studios have done is they have developed a sustainable plan for keeping track of the gels. Gels normally come on a roll, okay? And so when you buy them from the manufacturer, you may be starting with something the size of this roll of gel here, several yards by 4 feet wide, okay? And they come in different lengths depending on what your needs are. So you can see that, you know, you're going to start cutting off of a roll that's about 4 feet wide, and you're going to end up with a lot of different pieces of gel that you're using for different size lights. And if you can keep track of those gels and have some sort of filing system, you can get a lot of life out of these before they start burning up and you have to replace them. Okay. I wanted to talk to you specifically about diffusion because it's one of the gels that I think I use the most. In all the lighting setups that I do, almost nothing is hard light anymore for my aesthetic, because I prefer the look and the feel and the softness of my key light once I've added some of the appropriate amount of diffusion. Now, there's lots of different professional diffusions right now. Okay, I'm just going to show you a few of what we have here, and then you're obviously free to make all kinds of choices within the recommended catalogs of either Lee filters or Roscoe gels, or you may find something that you like at the art supply store. That's where a lot of this thinking originated anyway, is guys going to the art supply store and picking up drafting vellum and tracing paper, putting that in front of the lights to see how it would change the look and the contrast of the fixtures, until manufacturers like Lee Filters and Roscoe came along to actually create calibrated gels for us. We were kind of on our own and winging it anyway. So we'll start with what we call full white diffusion, okay? And this is made by the Lee Filter Company. It's called full white diffusion because if you put this on a fixture, what it's supposed to do is reduce your output of your fixture by one full stop of output. Okay, and when it does that, it also diffuses in the maximum density that this happens to be 216. When 216 was created at the time, there wasn't anything really that was much thicker than this. Okay, so they called it catalog number 216. It was 216 in their gel catalog. Okay, and it stood for full white diffusion. If you can see, you can barely see my hand appearing through that gel, right? So if you're on the set and you pick up a cut of this off the workbox or whatever and it's not marked, just check it with your hand and see if it's really thick like that. It's probably 216. Okay. Now, 216 has a couple of counterparts in that series, in the 200 series of gel. We also had 250, which was called half white diffusion, and it is the same idea. Okay. It's just a simple white diffusion, but you can see how it's about half as thick as the 216. And coincidentally, this gel is a half stop correction on your light output as well. Okay, so you have 250 and 216, and then the thinnest in that series is 251. This is gel catalog number 251 from Lee Filters. And you can see, again, it's white, but when I put my hand behind it, it shows to be the thinnest of the 3 gels so far. So if you look at all 3 of these different gels and you're working with a light fixture on set, if you don't have if you know you want to lower the contrast of the output, but you don't have enough room on your exposure to go one full stop of reduction, you might not choose the 216, you might choose the 250 and take a half stop reduction, or the 251, okay, and take a quarter stop reduction, okay. Let me give you a little tip as long as we're talking about gel cuts really quick. Notice how the folks here on stage are taking really good care of the cuts that they create when they're on stage. They mark this in the corners, 216, okay, and they do it as often as they can to make sure that the next person, when you roll this up and you stick it in that bin of gosh knows what, at least when you pull this particular piece out of there, you'll see it says 216 right on the end of the roll. Okay, that helps the next person in line who needs a piece of 216 to find it quickly without having to go weeding through the bin. Okay, so 250, 251, 216. 216 is full white diffusion, 250 is half white diffusion, 251 is quarter white diffusion. Okay, those are simple white diffusions. Okay. And they just have a neutral softening or lowering of the overall contrast of the light. Now, there's other gel materials out there. They usually come on a long roll like this, okay? Here's cosmetic highlight. I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes. This looks like it might be grid cloth or tough spun. This is tough spun. This is like a material that looks like a fabric. And it's almost like a, I don't know, a cottony fabric, a fibrous fabric. But you can see how it might offer a very interesting kind of diffusion quality to it. If we put this in front of a light and we take a look at what that might do in terms of lowering the contrast of the output, you can see how thin it is, yet it has a really interesting sort of random pattern to the way the threads are all kind of stuck together in there. There's also grid cloth. This is a light grid, I believe, on this 4x frame. And this is the most practical way to use gel off the long roll like this. If you buy your gels like this from the manufacturer or from your local rental house, it's going to come on a 4-foot length like this, like something like 25 yards. You can get them longer, shorter. Or you can buy them in sheets. Now I have sheets in this gel catalog that come in 2x2 foot cuts. And you can buy them like this, or you can buy them in 4x4 cuts. A lot of times when guys buy them in 4x4 cut sizes, it's to put them on an open frame like this. This is just an aluminum frame. You can see on the back side, there's about an inch of material here. We take the 4x sheet and we use double stick tape, and we apply the gel right to the 4x frame, and these will mount very handily in our C-stands. So the rolls come on 4 foot size, or they come in pre-cuts, 2 foot and 4 foot pre-cut size. Now later we're going to use, in our sweetening exercise, we're going to use one of my favorite types of gel, which is Cosmetic Diffusion. And in here I've got a few pieces of Cosmetic Diffusion here. This is called Cosmetic Peach. If you look, You notice how the diffusions we first started talking about were neutral white diffusions. Okay, those diffusions are calibrated and they're designed not to impose any color tint on the fixture that you've just used to key your subject with. But if you want to introduce a little bit of color into the diffusion, cosmetically, that's to clean up blemishes or to restore a little vitality to the reflectivity of a certain person's face, we can use cosmetic diffusions, and they come in a couple of different grades. This is called peach, and basically it adds just a little bit of an orange quality to the diffusion. So if you have somebody who's particularly light-skinned and needs just a little bit of help cosmetically with their color, a little vitality, cosmetic peach is nice. Cosmetic rouge, you can see here is a diffusion that adds a little bit of magenta. Okay, so that'll add a little bit more fleshy color to whatever your key light is already doing to your subject. And we should have around here some, I guess this is the cosmetic peach here. Just set this down. And you can see it has a very nice sort of flesh tone to it, which will render nicely and add just a little bit of vitality to the diffusion. Okay, this is really handy for close-ups, especially close-ups of female talent. If you're doing cosmetics commercials, or if you're doing commercials with high-valued talent in a lot of close-ups, you're going to use cosmetic diffusions quite regularly. And you might use them on feature films as well. If, for instance, if the script calls for a little bit of vitality and your actor was just on a movie in Sweden for the last 2 months and there wasn't really much opportunity to catch any sun or get a tan, you can add a little bit back with your diffusions. Okay, so I just wanted to show you guys what's out there so that you have a little bit more background when you start doing some of your finer lighting setups for some of your assignments. Just a quick tip I wanted to add to our discussion about gels. These are the Lee Filters location kits. They come with 24 or 36 1 by 1, 12 inch by 12 inch pre-cuts, and there's a number of different flavors inside each one of these kits. And if you look on the back, you'll see this pack contains, and it'll give you the quantities and the catalog numbers of each piece of gel that's inside this kit. They're about $38 retail. You can get them from Adorama in New York, B&H Photo in New York, or Film Tools in Burbank, California. And when you open them up inside, you'll see you get a variety of different flavors. You got some color correction, you have some diffusion, you have a number of different catalog numbers in here, and it's just designed to get you started. If you don't really have a particular gel in mind, you just want to have a selection of random cuts that you can apply for color correction or for color effects or for diffusion, there's a few selections that have been made for you. The master kit has 4 different types of diffusion, 3 different kinds of cosmetic diffusion, and 4 different kinds of color correction. The location kit has just a number fewer of those selections. So there's 2 cosmetic diffusions, 4 regular diffusions, and 4 color corrections. But this is a great place to start if you don't already have gel on the roll. Okay. If you don't already have a collection of these style of gels, you can go with these, and it's a nice introduction to using color correction and diffusion. And then when you find the stuff that you like to work with the most, you can start buying it on the long rolls and saving a little bit of money. Okay, just a quick tip on purchasing color correction and diffusion gels.